Greetings, readers, friends, fighters for justice, revolutionaries, socialists from all across this world, more particularly in this country called South Africa, a colonial construct, a colonial space which is still largely occupied by the descendants of the settlers, even though the political power is exercised by those who were oppressed in the past through colonialism and apartheid. That is to say, even though political power is in the hands of the black majority. We greet you all across this wonderful, beautiful continent, endowed with minerals, endowed with the most fertile land in the world, endowed with the backbone of the working class. Sitting before you, I should have said, I can't say standing before you because I am sitting down. Sitting before you is the founder and co-editor of this revolutionary blog called The Spark, which was founded on the 8th of June 2020. In fact, the first article was published on the 8th of June 2020, but it was founded in that period of June. So the first article, which is the 8th of June 2020, is essentially the launch of this revolutionary blog. This was the first time the ideas of this blog were published. Not just ideas of this blog, but the people represented by this block. We are guided by Lenin, who teaches us that newspapers and media outlets are what you would call collective organizers. They are first and foremost profusely sorry and apologetic for not sticking to our commitment of hosting this celebration rally yesterday. I had sinus, or it was a heavy under attack, as you can tell. Even now, my nose is blocked, my eyes are bloodshot red because I'm struggling with sinus, but it's better now. Yesterday, it knocked me down. I could not even write or, you know, communicate that I am having this challenge. And yeah, but today I decided to do a pre-recorded video so that should my sinus get worse in the course of the day, at least the Spark can publish something to make up for yesterday's affair of not pitching up or not even communicating that we have this challenge. But we're sorry, and we're going to do what we're supposed to do, and that is to provide a speech. To say it's a very formalistic speech, but it's a speech that is meant to galvanize, mobilize, agitate, and conscientize our people to go to the picket lines. It's our celebration speech, which reflects on a 5-year journey, which has seen us accumulate 10,000 reads. It's a monumental thing because we did this without any resources. We did this without funding. We were not even funded by anything. We funded ourselves. So tonight we gather here not just to celebrate a milestone, but to reflect on the struggle that brought us here and the road ahead. 10,000 reads, 10,000 minds engaged, 10,000 moments of political consciousness sparked. This is not just a number. It is the pulse of a movement, the rhythm of resistance, the song of those who refuse to be silenced in the face of neoliberal oppression. Ladies and gentlemen, comrades, friends, and fellow travelers on this journey towards a brighter future, I stand before you today filled with immense pride and gratitude as we gather to celebrate a remarkable milestone. The Spark has reached 10,000 reads in its 5-year existence. This achievement is not just a number, it is a testament to the power of our collective voice, the strength of our ideas, and the unwavering spirit of our community. As we reflect on this journey, let us take a moment to remember the circumstances that birthed this revolutionary bloc. Comrades, this victory did not come easily. Let us cast our minds back to the very beginning, back to the dark days of COVID-19, when the world was brought to its knees in the crisis that gripped the world. And in that crisis, comrades, the true nature of capitalism revealed itself. The ruling class retreated into their fortified mansions while the working class and poor were abandoned, left to face the virus in overcrowded townships, crumbling RDP houses, and settlements where social distancing was a myth. The government of capital told us to stay at home while millions had no food, no income, and no hope. It was in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, a time when the world seemed to be on the unraveling, and the academic year at the University of Forte was on the verge of collapse. This was a very painful time for many. And the interim SRC, or rather the interim Student Representative Council, had been captured by the management, leaving the voices of students silenced and marginalized. The situation was dire. The academic year stood on the verge of collapse. Online learning was a privilege reserved for those with data, stable electricity, and proper devices, who are, by the way, 10% of the student populace. Now it's 5%. While most students, children of farm workers, security guards, and domestic workers were left behind. And just when the students needed leadership the most, the interim SRC became a tool of management, a puppet show designed to suppress resistance And instead of amplifying student voices, it sold them out. It was in these moments of despair that the Spark was born, not as an ordinary blog, not as a simple publication, but as a revolutionary organ of the oppressed. It was created in defiance of both the university administration and the neoliberal state. It was born from anger, from frustration, from a burning desire to tell the truth that mainstream media and reactionary forces refused to acknowledge. The Spark was a light in the darkness, exposing the injustices, mobilizing the students, and giving voice to the voiceless. In this moment of crisis, we recognize the urgent need for a platform that would amplify the voices of the oppressed, challenge the status quo, and ignite the flames of revolutionary thought. It was during this tumultuous period that the Spark was founded, a beacon of hope and resistance in the face of adversity. Comrades, the journey was not easy. Running a radical publication in a system designed to silence dissent is like swimming against the tide. But as the flames of the Spark grew, so did its reach, and so did its impact. It was in this struggle that a true comrade emerged, Bongosi Ngwenya. And in 2023, it was with great joy that we welcome Comrade Bongosi Ngwenya as a co-editor and partner in this endeavor. His commitment to professionalizing and elevating our work has been instrumental in shaping the Spark into an influential platform it is today. Together, we've forged a space where ideas can flourish, where critical discourse can thrive, and where the revolutionary spirit can be reignited. Comrade Bongosi is not just another writer. He is a fighter, a thinker, a revolutionary intellectual who fully understands that a blog is not just words on a screen but a weapon in the class struggle. When he joined as co-editor and partner, the Spark transformed from a defiant student publication into a professionalized military, or rather militant revolutionary outlet, not military, reaching across campuses, townships, and working class communities. Through these efforts, the quality of our work soared and the blog became an indispensable platform for leftist analysis, exposing the neoliberal elite, the corruption of the state, and the betrayal of the masses by those who claim to be their leaders. From our humble beginnings, the Spark has grown into a vibrant community of thinkers, activists, and dreamers. Each article, each post, and each comment has contributed to a rich tapestry of thought that challenges the neoliberal narrative that seeks to dominate our lives. I've tackled issues ranging from the commodification of education to the exploitation of workers. Our journey has not been without its challenges. We've faced attacks, backlash, and attempts to silence our voices. Even now, we still face those attempts. But through it all, we have remained steadfast in our commitment to the truth, justice, and liberation of all oppressed peoples, black and white. The 10,000 reads we celebrate today are not just a reflection of our reach. They are a testament to the hunger for genuine change, for a world that prioritizes people over profit, and for a united front against the forces of neoliberalism. Comrades, 10,000 reads is not just a celebration, it is a signal. A signal that people are hungry for the truth, a signal that people are tired of the lies of the mainstream press, a signal that the left can and must build a genuine alternative to the neoliberal order that seeks to strangle every aspect of our lives. But let us be clear, reading alone is not enough. Political consciousness must be transformed to political action, and that action, comrades, must be the total defeat of neoliberalism. It is not just an economic system, it is a war on the working class. It is a war on job security, a war on free education, a war on healthcare, a war on housing, a war on the youth and the poor. Neoliberalism privatizes, retrenches, exploits, and abandons. It creates unemployment and then criminalizes the unemployed. It builds luxury estates while the majority live in squalor. It increases GDP while increasing hunger. It funds corrupt elites while cutting social services. That is basically the epitome of the Thabo Mbeki regime. As we celebrate this milestone, it is crucial to engage in dialectical materialist critiques of the current political landscape, particularly the government of national unity. The GNU was initially conceived as a means to foster collaboration and unity among diverse political factions in the wake of democracy. That is the original GNU of Mandela, Buthelezi, and de Klerk. However, as we have witnessed, the current iteration has devolved into a mechanism that perpetuates the very inequalities it sought to dismantle. The GNU has become a breeding ground for neoliberal policies that prioritize the interests of capital over the needs of the people. The economic crisis we face today is a direct result of these policies, which have led to rampant unemployment, deepening poverty, and a growing divide between the rich and the poor. Our institutions of higher learning, once bastions of knowledge and critical thought, have been co-opted by corporate interests, reducing education to a commodity rather than a right. In this context, we must ask ourselves, who benefits from the GNU? The answer is clear. It is the elite, the powerful and the privileged who continue to thrive while the masses suffer. The neoliberal agenda has infiltrated every aspect of our lives, from the workplace to the classroom, and it is our duty to resist it with all our might. We must recognize that the crisis in our country, in our economy, is inextricably linked to the crisis in our institutions of higher learning. As students, we are not just passive recipients of knowledge, we are active participants in the struggle for a better world. We must reclaim our universities as spaces of resistance where critical thought and revolutionary ideas can flourish. The Spark has played a vital role in the struggle, providing a platform for students and activists to share their experiences, insights, and visions for a just society. We must continue to build on this foundation, fostering a culture of solidarity and collaboration among leftist organizations and movements. And yet, comrades, neoliberalism survives because the left remains divided. The forces of capital and reactionary power are united, well-funded and disciplined, while the left is fractured by sectarianism, ideological purism, and in some cases ideological revision and distortion, which in our epoch manifests itself as feudal socialism, and internal battles that weaken our collective strength. That must change, comrades. The ruling class, in its infinite deception, has once again thrown a smokescreen in front of the masses. After decades of neoliberal austerity, unemployment, corruption, and state capture, the people were led to believe that the 2024 elections would bring change. But what have we received instead? A government of national unity, a coalition of capital, corruption, and counter-revolution. There is no victory for the people. It is a desperate attempt by the ruling class to maintain control at a time when the contradictions of the system have become too sharp to ignore. We must analyze this development dialectically. The GNU is not a solution. It is an expression of crisis. It exists because neither the ANC nor the DA could secure enough power alone. The bourgeois order is fracturing. The ruling class can no longer govern in the old way, but the working class has yet to take power. This is a classic moment of political deadlock where the forces of reaction seek to stabilize capitalism by absorbing opposition into the ruling structure. The DA, the party of white monopoly capital, has not entered this government to serve the people. It has done so to protect its class interests. The ANC, long a vehicle of neoliberalism and corruption, has once again betrayed its historical base. The result? The economy remains in free fall. The youth face 66% unemployment rate, a death sentence for an entire generation. Higher education remains a site of brutal exclusion, financialization, and repression. NSFAS is in crisis, institutions are corporatized, and academic freedom is under attack. Excuse me. As we have seen with the attacks on Dr. Comrade Pedro Mzileni, it's a depiction, a manifestation of the attack of academic freedom, and any other progressive academic, revolutionary academic will be attacked, particularly decolonial scholars. You can go to any university, including the University of Fort Hare or any other university that exists in South Africa, or any other institution of higher learning. The minute you are decolonialist, you are progressive, you are leaning towards socialism, you will be attacked, your academic freedom will be restricted, and it will be closed, because these institutions of higher learning are factories to produce the next bourgeoisie. Public services continue to collapse under the weight of privatization and austerity. As we have seen that the recent budget of the minister, the process of collapsing state capacity continues. This is the true nature of the GNU, comrades, a unity of capital against the people. And yet there are those who tell us to give it a chance. They tell us to be patient. But what have 30 years of patience given us? Mass unemployment, deepening poverty, and an economy that serves only the rich. No, comrades, our task is not to stabilize this dying system. Our task is to overthrow it. Comrades, we cannot speak about the moment we are in without properly and sufficiently addressing the so-called government of national unity, GNU. The ruling class in its arrogance, rather, not ignorance, English, tells us that this GNU is a sign of maturity, that it represents a new era of cooperation. But we must see through these lies. The GNU is not a solution, it is a desperate attempt to stabilize a collapsing system. Let us analyze it again dialectically. The ANC is in crisis, having lost significant electoral support due to its corruption, failures, and subservience to capital. The DA, the party of white monopoly capital, enters this coalition not to serve the people but to protect its economic interests. The EFF and other left forces have been deliberately excluded because the ruling class fears a real alternative to neoliberalism. What does this mean for the working class? The GNU will continue austerity, cutting social spending, privatizing state-owned enterprises, increase VAT, and deepening the crisis of public services. 2. The youth will remain trapped in 66% unemployment, a whole generation abandoned by capital. Institutions of higher learning will become even more commercialized, excluding the poor and serving only the elite. Comrades, this is not a government of national unity. It is a government of national exploitation. And yet, in the midst of this crisis, another dangerous force is rising. A force that threatens to drag South Africa further into the abyss of reaction and oppression. The rise of Afrikaner nationalism and right-wing populism, South Africa's fascist threat. Comrades, must be clear. South Africa is not immune to the global right-wing surge. Across the world, in the US, in Europe, in Latin America, we see the rise of the right-wing capitalist populism. We see the return of fascistic politics, of racist nationalism, of ultra-conservative movements funded by the ruling class. An example would be the AfD in Germany, which is funded by Elon Musk, the Republican Party of Donald Trump, funded by Elon Musk, AfroForum, Solidarity, and all of these other nonsensical right-wing fascist organizations. South Africa is not different. Afrikaner nationalism is resurgent. Organizations like AfroForum have grown stronger, mobilizing white capital and white paranoia under the guise of minority rights. They talk about self-determination, but what they mean is in essence the preservation of white economic and cultural dominance. The Freedom Front Plus and sections of the DA are pushing right-wing policies that seek to roll back transformation, to deepen the exclusion of the black working class. And let us not forget reactionary capitalist populism, the rise of figures who dress their politics in anti-establishment rhetoric while serving the interest of capital. Parties like the Patriotic Alliance and MKP immediately come to mind. This is part of a global trend. In the US, Donald Trump mobilizes white supremacy to defend the interests of capital. In Europe, right-wing parties rise by blaming immigrants and refugees instead of capitalism. In Latin America, military and conservative forces work to overthrow socialist government, as seen in Peru and in Bolivia, where they attempted to overthrow Luis Acre, but the masses defended the socialist government. In Peru, they successfully overthrew the socialist president. I forgot his name. I think it's Pedro something. South Africa is part of this historical process. The ruling class sees that neoliberalism alone cannot control the people, so they are turning to the right wing to suppress revolution. We cannot allow this. We must organize, we must mobilize, we must fight back. As we look towards the future, we must recognize that the fight against neoliberalism is far from over. It is a struggle that requires our collective strength, our unwavering commitment, and our determination to forge a genuine unity of the left. We must come together not just as individuals or organizations, but as a united front headed by the Economic Freedom Fighters, EFF, and the South African Federation of Trade Unions, SAFTU. Together, we can build a powerful movement that challenges the status quo, that demands justice for the marginalized, and that fights for the rights of workers and students alike. We must chart a path towards a conference of leftist organizations in South Africa where we can strategize, collaborate, and build a counterweight organization to AfroForum, a communist league of occupied Tanzania. I call upon all readers of the Spark to join us on the picket lines, to stand in solidarity with those who are fighting for their rights, and to work towards a genuine unity of the left. Let us not be divided by our differences, but be united by our shared vision of a just and equitable society. Together we can defeat neoliberalism and build a future that prioritizes the needs of the many over the greed of the few. Let us celebrate our achievements, but let us also recognize that the work that lies ahead is immense. The Spark is not just a blog, it is a movement, a call to action, and a testament to the power of our collective voice. Together, we will continue to ignite the flames of revolution, to challenge the forces of oppression, and to build a world that is truly free. We, the readers, writers, and fighters of the spark, must take the next step. We must move from words to deeds, from reading to mobilizing, from observing to building. That is why, comrades, I call upon all of you today to take up the banner of revolutionary unity. It is time to bring together the working class, the students, the unemployed youth, the dispossessed masses, and all progressive forces under a single front. We must unite under the banner of the AFF, under the militant leadership of SAFTU, and under the revolutionary principles of socialism. We must enter the picket lines, flood the streets, and build a movement that will shake the very foundations of this corrupt and rotten system. The path ahead is clear. We must mobilize for the local government elections. The ANC has failed. The DA is the party of the white elite. The so-called independents are mere opportunists. In fact, it is time for the left to enter the battlefield of local governance and reclaim our municipalities, our wards, our townships, and our communities from forces of corruption and neoliberal decay. We must convene a conference of leftist organizations in South Africa. No more fragmentation, no more isolated struggles. The trade unions, the socialist formations, the militant student movements, the housing activists, the climate justice fighters, we must all sit down and forge a common program of struggle. 3. We must build a counterweight to AfriForum. The right wing in this country is organized, it has resources, it has strategy, and it is pushing its agenda with ruthless efficiency. We cannot allow the reactionary forces of settler capitalism and Afrikaner nationalism to monopolize civil society while the left remains uncoordinated. That is why, comrades, we must formally establish the Communist League of Occupied Tanzania, a revolutionary mass movement dedicated to building working class power at every level of society, particularly in the communities, particularly in civil society, and particularly in the grassroots of politics. Comrades, the struggle is now. The moment is now. The revolution is not a distant dream, it is a task of our time. Comrades, history has placed us at a crossroads. Either we sit back and watch as the forces of capital and reaction consolidate their power, we have another Hitler, or we rise to the occasion and organize the fight for socialism. Let the spark ignite the revolutionary fire in every township, every factory, every campus, every rural village. The spark has reached 10,000 reads. Let the next milestone not be just another 10,000 reads, but 10,000 workers on strike, 10,000 students mobilized, 10,000 revolutionaries marching to power. Let us rise, let us organize, let us unite for a genuine unity of the left, for a total defeat of neoliberalism, for a socialist Azania in our lifetime. Mandla!